Hey, everybody, welcome back to yet another episode of our Leverage podcast. I am joined by a super good dude. His name is Spencer Combs. I'm looking forward to his conversation today. I know he's recently written a book. I'm excited to hear a little bit about that book. Got a little insight into it, and I'm definitely excited to hear some of the nuggets and wisdom that come out of that. Spencer, thanks for joining us today. Our audience obviously will want to learn a lot about scaling, leverage, building, operations, systems, AI. Like we're all over the board, but it's obviously mostly business owners paying attention to this, looking for ways to put leverage into their world. So tell us a little bit about who you are and how do you make money?
Absolutely. So my name is Spencer Combs. How do I make money? I'm going to tell you that a lot of people struggle with working harder these days, and many of them are not really getting the results they want. So what we've determined is that there are two patterns that typically run people's lives, and I make money by helping them determine which of those two patterns they're in, and then help them recognize how cultural gravity is probably working against them, and how we can actually help them move forward by just making a few simple changes, typically mentally, before we do much of anything else.
Absolutely. Well, tell us what is an ideal client for you, right? Like who is somebody that fits perfectly into your avatar or your world and services?
The general term is going to be entrepreneur and high performers. But the ones that I typically work with a lot are going to be real estate agents, since that's the industry that I came out of. And I'm sure that's one that's how you and I actually originally got connected, I'm sure. And then, of course, I've worked with insurance agencies, HVAC. I've even helped Army colonels make transition into the business life out of their career, trauma victims, all kinds of things. But for the most part, it's service-based industry, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Love that. Yeah, absolutely. It was the real estate niche. That's how we've connected and stayed kind of connected on the Facebook world. So it's always exciting to kind of bring those relationships back to the table. And that's why I always love doing these shows, to be honest with you, because it's a unique opportunity, right? To bring people back together and, discuss more conversations around business. So let's talk a little bit about what's the biggest thing you're focused on growing right now?
Biggest thing I'm focused on right now, I took a hiatus from all this stuff last year, and I was working as a senior business analyst. And when I did that, it stopped all the momentum for me doing this kind of thing. And so what I'm working on right now, for the most part, is rebuilding the lead generation and getting back on stages and back to my unshakable weekend events that I do for 3 days at a time. That's what my focus is right now.
Love that. What can we do to help you, right, as a company get on more stages, things like that? I just throw that out there as a sidebar.
Well, for the most part, I don't expect people to just go, say, oh, I like this bald-headed dude. Let's just go ahead and go, I'm going to spend 3 days with him in Jacksonville, Florida, because that's where I'm coming from right now. No, I don't anticipate that. I think most people, if they just get plugged into the book, Momentum and Mastery, they can make a decision for themselves.
Yeah. Speaking of the book, let's talk just a little bit about that. So obviously you spent some time building that out. You have a lot of experience in leadership and management and development. So let's talk a little bit about business ownership and what is the concept of the book?
Overall, so I've been at this game since '99. I got my real estate license in '99. So I in the 1900s, back when fax machines were still a thing, which is ridiculous, right? But I started working with so many different people, and I began to recognize that there was a couple of patterns that kept popping up. Some people are really good at building businesses, and they're momentum minded, right? They take action, they go do the thing, and those people struggled with actually building anything of structure or duplicatable. Right. And the buzzword today is scale, right? So scale your business, grow it, that kind of thing. Well, scaling is going to be a real hard thing for someone who is a builder naturally. Yeah. The opposite side of that conversation, though, and I think I see more of this than that, but the maintenance idea, or what we call mastery-minded people. These are operators. And so they want to over-engineer, they want to get it right, they want to optimize everything. And they typically run into lots of issues with let's see, there's a couple patterns that pop up. Frustration is one, burnout is another, and stagnation is the other. The only other pattern that shows up is impatience. So one of those four things, and somebody listening to this, you and I right now, they're in one of those four places with their business. That's what it's
1,000%.
about.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. How do you like when somebody is in one of those 4 lanes, right? Or one of those 4 emotional states or states, right? How do you get them to come out of those states, right? What does that look like? And I know it's kind of an open, like a 10,000 foot question, but talk to me about that.
I think a lot of times, I think coaches in general love to just go ahead and cram a pill down your throat and say, this is what you need. You need to get this AI thing in place. So you've got to get this kind of, and the problem so where we come in is actually help people diagnose the actual problem so that we can actually write the appropriate prescription. So I appreciate the question. So there's 3 critical factors. And if you did this in a Venn diagram, I can get real nerdy with this. If you did a Venn diagram, somebody's like, oh Lord, this guy's talking about diagrams. No, there's 3 things that are critical to create success. You can write these down. It's mindset, mechanics, like how to, and movement. All 3 have to be there. And what you'll find out is movement comes from the momentum side of the book, and that's our drift to drive framework. Yep. And then the mechanics and the mindset together create the mastery. So to answer your question, I had to set it up kind of.
Yeah, that's perfect.
What happens is that people fall into, they do 2 out of 3. So if you're all mindset and you take action, you're going to be the frustrated person. And so if I understand that about you, this is why my website says, give me 5 minutes. And I can tell you exactly what it's going to take to check. Because I can tell real quick, like if you are what I call the unqualified champion. So you're all about the rhetoric, but your head's so far up in the clouds that you're so heavenly minded, you're no earthly good. We've all been there at some point, but it's a positivity pattern. And the problem is that until you get into purpose, which is the qualified champion, that's when all 3 are clicking on all cylinders: mindset, mechanics, and movement. That congruence creates forward movement or creates progress, which is what we're all after.
Yep.
The burnout. I don't know if I want to stop me if you need to, but I can.
No, you're good. You're good. Keep going.
The burnout pattern. If you're the kind of person that keeps hitting the glass ceiling, or you're always in that rut and just can't seem to figure out a way out, you are what we call the qualified victim, because your mechanics are on point. You understand what you're doing. You know how to get it done. You probably know better than the average person. You're the one that's getting frustrated because there's other people out here making 5 times more money than you are, but dumber than a brick. And you don't understand why. It's because you're missing the mindset piece. And the only way to get out of that qualified victim mentality is to step into purpose, which is, I'm pointing up because if you saw it on a graph, whenever I do this on stage, people kind of, oh, I see it now, right? And then the other pattern would be the unqualified victim. That's going to be a stagnation pattern. That's going to be one that you just can't figure out what's going on, how to get going. Those people, we have to move them either mindset or mechanics, one of the 2 usually. It's not like a simultaneous thing, but we systematically get them into action. And we do that with our drift to drive framework.
Okay. I love, that's really good stuff, man. Like I love like models. I love systems, and I am a geek for Venn diagrams, by the way. So,
there's a bunch of them in here.
I may get the book for that.
Yeah.
What's one thing you're kind of focused on growing right now?
Growing. Yeah. I think it's right now just getting the message out. It's been, I've gotten cleaner and cleaner about it. I've been able to get down to the business of what we're actually doing around here. And it's very transformative. I also believe that because of how the internet has played into this game and now the AI factor, I think a lot of people are going to start craving, if not already, that live experience. And that's why we're going to be focused so much more on doing live events, different places, because, I can listen to my favorite artist play music, but it's a lot different when you're in a stadium with other people and you get the experience live. This is not any different, not to mention the immersion effect and how much it changes a person's life. I say to people all the time, give me 3 days, come back unshakable, because that's what this is about. It's called the unshakable framework.
Right. Very cool. So kind of where when you were talking like the operator side, right? And I think there's a disconnect sometimes from the builder side, the operator side. You got to find that bridge in the middle, right? Between that. And again, zones of genius are all different, right? I think some people lean more towards, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because this isn't my expertise, but I think some people zones of genius, right? Are in that visionary world, right? Like that builder world, and others are in that operator mastery world as you use the terminology. Like, how do you bridge that gap with regards to, growth or scaling? And I know one of those components, and I'll drill that in a little bit deeper, is you've got to have the right systems, you got to have the right processes, and you got to have the right leverage/people. Talk to me a little bit about that, right? As you kind of coach around that mindset and that mentality, how do people kind of grow their business, get freedom back, right? Get those opportunities to spend more time with their family through leverage. And again, the leverage can be defined as software, systems, process, and people, right? The way I'm defining it.
Right. Yeah. So if I did an infinity symbol with two big circles and they met in the middle, you're asking kind of like, where's that inflection point between the two? Where do these two connect? What you're going to find is that in the drift to drive, or that driver/builder personality that you're referring to, when they're driven, we have to confirm and get real heavy clarity around a purpose. Mm-hmm. And when they have a strong purpose that's well defined based off of the 4 factors that we talk about, it will bring them to the doorstep of the mastery sequence, which is 5. There's 5 building blocks to that. The very first one is purpose. So at the end of the day, what are we doing and why? If we can't answer that question, I don't know how many times I've talked to a business owner and they're like, well, I want to take it from, 1 million to 2 million in gross revenue. Okay.
Why?
For what? Right? What are we doing here? What's that about? What are you doing with an extra $1 million? Right? And most people can give you some very generic responses, but until they can actually tell you, we do what's called a price tag exercise. So if that $1 million, that's a price tag to pay for what? What are we doing with that? And if it's spending more time with your family, what does that look like? And the clearer they are on the purpose, the easier it is to cast the vision. The easier it is, by the way, with that purpose. And I'm doing this because of the way it's in the mastery. There's 5 building blocks. The first block, once I get that purpose, then I can go to the second block, which is priorities. That's the mechanics of plans and the mindset of focus. Right? What are we moving toward? And that creates your priorities. People that come to me and say, I'm doing all these things and I'm trying to do everything, that's typically because they don't have a very strong sense of purpose or an outcome that they've committed to, which it's a mindset of commitment, a mechanics of outcome.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and I think that's that priorities piece too, right? It's like, okay, well, if we're focusing on everything, then we have nothing, right? It's like, what are those priorities? What are the things that move the needle, right? What is I think it was the old Gary Keller thing, right? The one thing book, right? Or it was like, what's the one thing that you can do that can make everything else obsolete, or however that phrase went. But I think that's a huge component too, right? On that leverage side is having the ability to figure out where is my time being used for the highest and best value, right? Dollar wise, and everything else in theory should be delegated, right? And so we're a big believer, obviously, as a virtual assistant company, that is a big important component of it. You should be spending your time on the highest generating opportunities or revenue, and everything else should be delegated out.
Yes. The key word is probably relevance.
Yeah.
Right? If it's not relevant to the outcome that we have committed to, then it is not a priority. Right. And if you have too many priorities, that means you have no priorities. That's the truth.
Absolutely. Well, sticking a little bit on the leverage thing is what is the biggest leverage that you have right now in your business, or your clients, right, have in their business? I mean, we can talk about people, can be software, AI, mindset, whatever it is. You talk to me about that.
Sure. So I use a lot of different pieces because I am a sole operation at the moment. I use a couple of pieces of software, of course, and I also have AI that helps me a tremendous amount with not so much content generation as much as it is about polishing and keeping things clean, if you will, easily delivered. So it's between AI and I have two different CRM platforms that help me keep everything together. That would be the biggest piece of my leverage.
What is something you see entrepreneurs doing that is, something that is, different than what you would perceive as right? I don't know. That's a terrible way to phrase that question, but I think what I want to see is what are you seeing that entrepreneurs are missing, like trends moving forward?
What are they missing with trends moving?
Yeah, so what is one? Maybe let me rephrase that. That was a horribly asked question. We'll chop that out of the podcast.
No worries.
And my editing crew chop this one out. With that, what trends should entrepreneurs be looking for right now? What are you watching?
What are they? What should entrepreneurs be focusing on or paying attention to? Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah. I would tell you that right now, first of all, when it comes to strategies versus tactics, sometimes we need to understand that a strategy is typically going to be timeless. And so the ability to communicate and the ability to negotiate and the ability to, all those types of things are going to be timeless. So we must be increasing our skill sets in those things. It doesn't matter what technology or leverage is in the picture. These pieces are always going to be around. Now, as far as tactics are concerned, obviously the elephant in the room, which by the way, if you look at everything I have, it's got an elephant. That's my logo, right? Spencer Combs Resources is an elephant. I typically talk about the elephant in the room. Everybody wants to talk about AI and wants to talk about how it's so helpful. I do agree that it's something that's helpful. The only challenge is that it becomes insidious to yourself, and you lose the deep work, and you're beginning to offload or abdicate your deep work, which is, we don't need artificial intelligence to do that deep work. So I can't abdicate purpose, and I can't abdicate all those things to technology. I'm gonna have to hold on to those things. So I don't think that necessarily answered your question on what to pay attention to. I think it was more along the lines of what to pay attention not to do.
Yeah, I agree. No, that's great. That's fair. That's totally fair. What is leverage? How would you define leverage as you're working with your coaching clients? What's your definition of leverage?
Yeah, so leverage to me is going to be anything that allows me to put minimal effort and get maximum return.
Perfectly said. Well said. Let me throw this one kind of at you. What's the one piece of leverage advice you would give someone trying to go to the next level?
Oh, well, I think that it helps people understand what your actual value is, and it helps them put a dollar amount to their time, right? Trying to think of Dan, can't think of his name. Martell. No, Martell. He's got a whole book on this stuff, right?
Buy back your time. Yep.
Yeah, buy back your time. He's a great content person for all that kind of thing. But if you're looking for an actual exercise, and I'm sitting there trying to help somebody understand what they should be doing and not doing, say, well, I want to go from 1 million to 2 million. Okay. Well, that means that right now you're worth $500 an hour.
Yep.
And you want to be at $1,000 per hour.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you is this activity that you've got in front of you worth $1,000 an hour? And when it creates that switch cost, granted, you can't just give away everything right away because you're not already in that kind of revenue, but it creates the perspective to help you understand what should I be leveraging versus what I should, what do I need to be holding on to and what I shouldn't be.
Absolutely. And I know like Martell's got the replacement ladder, right? And it's like a lot of industries want to go in and say, well, I don't like to do cold calling. I don't like to do the lead generating. So let me add the sales team first because I don't want to do it. And Martell's like, no, it's administrative first.
Yes.
Lowest dollar value work first.
You and I both we have real estate. I'm a productivity coach for 2 Keller Williams offices in Jacksonville. Okay. So I see it all the time where, agents want to go and they start offload those types of things. And so they're hiring agents without a system in place. How do you do business? Right? Leverage yourself first, leverage and get yourself fully leveraged. Then we can duplicate what you're doing with more people. Now you have an actual team. And that's how we took an insurance agency from 700,000 in income to which is 7 million in premium, 700,000 to 1.8 million in income. We did it because the driver, the owner, was such a big builder. When we started structuring everything and getting everybody on board and everybody understood what their outcomes were and they understood how to make that happen and what the process looked like, we took the highest performer and we duplicated what they were doing. Boom. Like it was in 1 year that they did that.
That's crazy. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I look at like another kind of Martell thing, and we do it on stage all the time. And you alluded to it, right? Is what is your hourly, right? It's one of those, Martell may say take 2,000 hours versus the full because you're going to take vacations. And of course, at KW, we used to teach the same number system of like you're going to probably be 4 to 6 weeks of sick vacation. Anyways, don't overcomplicate it. But if you took 2,000 working hours, right? What is your goal of what your income revenue will be, or use last year's actual revenue, right? We go either way. Yeah, you divide that out by 3,000 hours, and that's your hourly wage, right? You can't. That is legit. And now the question is, would I pay Spencer $10 an hour to do my emails? I don't know. Would I not? I mean, would I pay him to do that? Yes. Should I be doing that? No. Right. The question. That's the question. I guess I meant to flip that. If my value was $500 an hour, I probably wouldn't pay Spencer $500 an hour. Right. So therefore, why am I doing it? So right.
We could go on with this discussion, but here's the problem from my perspective. We call it. There's a drift tax. And if I could press this on anybody that's listening to this, there's a drift tax that happens. Somebody listening to you right now is listening to this like, I should probably leverage off. I shouldn't be doing all these things. I wouldn't be. The reason they're not doing that is because they have allowed cultural gravity to keep them where they are. They have weaponized whatever cultural gravity has weaponized their strengths. So I'm really good at writing these emails. So I probably should be the only one doing it, right? I'm really good at the sales. Maybe I'm the only one that should do it. And because of that, they stay right where they're at. And the drift tax, until you get, people say, oh, you're a motivational speaker. Get the hell out of here with that. I am not a motivational speaker because you don't need motivation. You need emotional leverage.
Yeah, I love that.
So the reason someone's not going to get leverage, the reason someone's not going to hire someone to do other tasks so that they have no real reason to bother doing the bigger thing, going and or they have a high level of fear around starting new conversations or doing something different. It's scary. The only way you're going to get that is to have a compelling future and get that emotional leverage.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so true. And I think that's the thing. Like you've said a few times, like the deep work, right? Like you've got there's so many surface level things going on in our world that we chase after. I mean, we can look in medical, we can look in business, we can look in a lot of different things where it's like, go get this and it'll solve your problem. And it's like a lot of times most of the time it's a lot deeper than that. You don't just get to take a pill and lose weight. Like
we love to focus on symptoms. We love to focus on symptoms, don't we?
100%. Well, let me hit us in our lightning round real quick here. Favorite business book?
Business book. I have a few business books I enjoy. Depends on which one. Oh, man, I should have been prepared for this one. I'll tell you what. I read a book years ago called The NLP Coach. So I'm an NLP master practitioner at this point. And it's not everything I am. So I don't typically put it on everything, NLP, whatever, because people love to just run with that. It's a big tool in the toolbox as a coach. But that book helped me, not so much, it's not a business book per se, but it sure enough helped me in the business as I began coaching more people.
Yeah, I understand how people think, right? And how they talk, right? Absolutely. Best purchase under $10,000.
Probably my wife's wedding band.
I love it. Great answer. Great answer. I'm going to short that one out so you can send it to her on a reel. Favorite AI tool?
Oh man, I use almost every single one because I work all of them against each other. But the one that I'm on most of the time is going to be Claude, probably.
Okay, perfect. What is the app you open the most on your phone? I'll be specific. Phone.
The one that's opened the most is probably going to be a Meta app, Facebook of some sort, simply because I'm pretty consistent on it.
Yep, love it. What is the biggest business mistake you've made?
Should I lean in for this one? The biggest mistake, business mistake I made years ago was probably not what you're thinking, but it is that I didn't give myself permission to be bigger than I thought I was. I held myself back for a long time, and it took me a very long time to get to the point where I was comfortable with, because I have 20 years of doing this now. I have a huge credibility list at this point, but there was a long time there that I could have done a lot more and been a lot farther along had I given myself permission. So that was the business mistake. It's on me.
I love that. I love that. What's one thing you'd automate immediately?
Probably all my podcast outreach.
Mm-hmm.
That's something new that we've started doing. So, cool. Having that taken care of.
Love that. That's a leverage piece, right? That ties into our conversation, right? Get somebody who can do that for you, for sure. What's one thing you would never delegate?
I do what's called a wrap session every week, WRAP, weekly results and planning. Okay. Wrap sessions. And we have what's called a wrap sheet. That I would never delegate to, because it gives me a strong sense every week where I'm at, what I'm doing, what's the focus for the coming week, and then the same for the month, and then the same for every year. My wife and I actually do a planning retreat for the following year. So I would never delegate that rhythm, because it's essentially the North Star for what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
Right. Love that. Love that. Hey, Chris, thanks so much for coming in today. I definitely want, or Chris, I just got off with a Chris. Spencer.
It's okay. It's okay. I've been called worse.
Anyways, thanks everybody for joining in with Spencer. How can they get a hold of you? How can they get your book? How would people connect with you to help you out, right? Or did you use your services?
Yeah, so the easiest way to connect with me is to go to spencercombs.com. And if they want the book, they can go from spencercombs.com, but that they can also go to momentumandmastery.com. So if you go there now, it's still set up with, basically you pay for the shipping, I send it to you, and it's like 11 something. In addition to that, there's a cool bonus on the back end. So Momentum and Mastery or spencercombs.com. There's a couple of other things that we have available, like our Qualified Champions assessment. It's a 3 to 5 minute assessment that helps you understand kind of what quadrant you're in, and then explain to you what that means for your business and which of the 5 areas of business you're probably the weakest in right now. So there's a lot. That's all there on the site too.
All right. Love it. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining in. I love talking mindset things. I love how that affects and really the deep work that Spencer talked about today. If you want to connect with him, we've given you his information. You can also hit me up as one of our guests or viewers. Love to put you in touch with Spencer. Anyways, feel free to give us feedback, like us, click the bell on our YouTube channel. And Spencer, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.